Unbelievable honor for me to be here. I've been coming to this clinic and getting the DVDs every year, and so many things that I do as a coach I take back from the things that I've learned right here at this clinic. While he's getting that set up, I'll tell you just a little bit about what I'm going to talk about tonight. As a base, we are a 3-wide, 2-back, run play action football team. Some people call us a spread offense, I think, because we are in the shotgun most of the time and we are no huddle, but I would not label us a spread offense. We're a downhill running team. We start with the power and the counter. That's our base starting point. Whenever we start installation, that's what we start with. That's because that's what we believe in. That's what I like. I think for a couple of reasons. One, it sets a physical tone. I think it separates us from some of the other people that are running a similar style of offense in terms of the no huddle system. The other reason we really like it is we feel like it's good against almost anything. The one thing we know it's not good against, if we're in a 6-man blocking scheme and they outnumber us with 7, other than that, we try to convince our guys it doesn't matter what they do. If they're playing us with 6, no matter what they do or how they play it, we got a place to run the football, and we run the power and the counter. The other thing that I really like about it is the fact that we are because of our tempo, we try to operate at a 2-minute pace the entire game. We need some schemes that are sound against anything, even when they're not quite lined up sometimes. So if we get some fronts that are a little bit unique, guys aren't necessarily in the gap where they're supposed to be, it's still sound because it's a gap scheme. What I'm going to focus on tonight is the O-line part of it. I put a lot of other things in here as far as formations, motions, some different types of reads. Obviously, with the monster we had playing quarterback last year, we did a lot of things with the quarterback run game. Whether he was running the ball, whether we were reading it, whether we were faking some sort of jet sweep, or whether we're just running it downhill. He was a big part of it, and so I put a lot of those things in there so you can see them. I'm not going to focus on that now. I want to focus on the stuff up front that I know y'all want to see, but if you have questions about some of those things later, let me know. But that's another reason that we really like the power and the counters. We feel like it's so multiple in terms of formations and backfield actions. I'm really fortunate, like a lot of you are, I'm sure. I've got so many people I could thank in my background that I'm not even going to begin to try, but I do want to say personal thanks to George Warhop, because he's one of the guys that really took a lot of care of me, and you're going to hear him speak tomorrow, but he's a guy that really spent a lot of time with me when I was a young coach just getting started. Okay, I believe the power and the counter starts with the double team at the point of attack. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to give you a little bit of technique on the double team, then we're going to look at some plays. Okay, and if you're like me, I don't want to hear a whole lot, I want to see it. I'm a lot better when I can learn it visually. We talk about trying to create a dent in the defense. I want vertical movement whenever I can. I don't want to try to compress that A-gap. I want that 3 technique and getting his ass knocked straight back so we can run the thing in the A-gap if it's there and the backers overrun it. Really 2 different base fits that I teach on a double team with the guard and tackle, and that's what I'm focusing on. Some of the principles would apply if you carried out to a tackle, tight end, some as a guard and center. Okay, the first I'm going to show you is what I would call a 50-50 fit. The guard's going to take half the 3 technique, tackle's going to take half. The next, and I'll show you why, is when the 3 techniques decides to compress the guard and attack the V of his neck. Guard's going to take 75%, the tackle will take 25%. In that case, the guard will use a 2-hand fit. Okay, the first one I want to show you right here is just, this is what we're trying to do to the defense right here. That's putting a dent in the defense. That's taking a defensive tackle and putting him in the linebacker's lap. Now obviously, that's not always going to happen that well and that easily, but that's the goal. That's the picture that we're looking for. All right, so the first few right here are when the 3 technique is playing right into the gap. Okay, he's just playing B gap. What we're going to do with the guard is inside lateral step, second step straight ahead with the guard. Regardless of what the D tackle does, my second step is going to work to go vertical straight ahead. If he's playing into the gap, on my outside edge, then I'm going to make contact with the top of my shoulder pad and a flipper digging up underneath him, with my flipper making contact just a split second behind my shoulder. Okay? I teach the shuffle technique with the double teams unless a guy is close enough that he doesn't have to shuffle. If he's got to travel far enough that he can't get down there and double team and stay square, then he's not going to do us any good, and he's going to lose his base. We're going to work against each other. And so this is something I got from Coach McNally a few years ago. And I think there's no question in my mind, for my money, it's the best way to work a double team when you're doubling to a backside backer. So the tackle's leaving his feet, shuffling over. We're going to take half of that man with each of us, and we're going to try to knock him straight back. Obviously, guard's eyes are on the backside backer. Here's one to the other side. I'd like the left guard to stay a little bit more square right here. But the reason I put this on here is it's a good picture of a 3 technique that's trying to turn and split the double team. Again, you see the tackle right here, shuffling over, sinking his hips, and then working for vertical push. I put it on there just because I like that extra stuff at the end too. Okay, so all those, you got a guy playing into the gap, okay? And this is something that we try to game plan each week. We say, how are their 3 techniques going to play the double team? Are these guys playing in their gap, or are they trying to squeeze and compress the guard? What we do is I ask the guys to actually read it on the run when it happens in a game, but we know what we're expecting going into the game. Okay, so here you see a 3 technique that's trying to compress the guard. He's taking more of him. I don't want to say take half of him, because now if I'm taking half of him all the time, no matter what he does, now it's going to turn. I'm going to get compressed, and I may not be in position to allow my tackle to climb. Okay, so I'm going to take that second step straight ahead, even though he's coming into me. Okay, I can't hit with a flipper now because he's attacking more of my body when I take a vertical second step. So now we're going to go with a 2-hand fit. 99% of the time, if a 3 technique's going to attack your guard that physically anyway, what's the backer going to do? He's going to run over the top. Now, I still tell the guard, and you'll see a picture of one in just a minute, I still tell him to peek his eyes inside just in case. But this is a picture of the guard going 2-hand fit, still got his eyes inside. Tackle banging and climbing. Here's another one to the left. Again, you see the guard attack, the 3 technique attack the guard. You see the tackle, he's only got maybe even less than a quarter. Maybe he's only got 10%. Whatever he shows, you push on until you know it's time to climb. If the backer works all the way over the top, that's great. We can hit it 1 gap closer. Okay, another one of the same. Okay, I put this one on here just because this is Marcell Dareus, okay, 3rd overall pick. He's as physical of a defensive tackle as you're going to see in college football. One thing I try to sell my guys on is, unless he goes to the ground, we're putting 2 on 1. You should get movement. If we don't get movement and we're putting 2 bodies on 1, then we did something wrong. And again, this guy right here is as good a guy as we'll see. He's trying to squeeze the guard, as I mentioned just a minute ago, compress him, hitting the V of his neck, so the guard's going to go 2-hand fit, tackle's going to get on his hip, we're going to work double. Here's one where the guy's squeezing him, but the guard's still got his eyes there for the late run through. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go right to some of these clips of the plays. Okay, talk about the power and the counter. This is just how I install it. I always talk about big picture first. What are the keys we have to accomplish as an offensive lineman? Number 1, vertical movement at the point of attack. Put a dent in the defense. Number 2, for the center and the backside tackle, build us some walls. Can't let the gaps get compressed. Backside A gaps and B gaps. Aggressive shuffle pull or skip pull by the guard. Tell them what the running back's reading all the time. Our running back's going to read it from the A gap out. Now I put this one on here in the beginning because this shows you some of the things that are going to come up, and you'll see in just a minute some more of these, and I just wanted to show you in the beginning. We do a fair amount of this where we're reading this defensive end. Okay, so the quarterback's moving towards him, riding the football just like you would on the veer option or like you would on the zone read. And if that defensive end squeezes at all, he's handing it off. We got a guy that can run fast, and we're off to the races. Okay, so you'll see a lot of that in these clips, and I just wanted to show you that so you knew what I was talking about. Okay, we've already talked about the double team a lot, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the guard here. Guard's going to lose ground, skip out of his stance, shuffle, pull, and then as soon as he gets right out of his stance and he's shuffled once, I want him running downhill And I tell him, you're like a fullback running the ISO. That back is following you through the hole. You got to pull full speed through it. I'd like to hit his inside cheek and knock him out like that. First couple of plays here, fairly basic looks. You got 3 techniques playing in the gap. Here's one where the 3 goes to the ground. We can't let one guy eat up 2 blocks, so you see the tackle there climbing as soon as he hits the ground and he feels the backer flow. Okay, those first 2, you saw the ball coming up inside the kick-out block. We see a lot of teams that try to wrong arm and squeeze everything that we do. So we tell our fullback or tight end to go smother that guy on the line of scrimmage so our guard doesn't have to bubble at all. The guard is going to read it like he's running the football, okay? Because we run this thing to the short edge most of the time, and we run it to the long edge some as well, but most of the time we're in a 6-man scheme, so we're running it to a short edge. So the guard's got to be really good at sticking that thing right up here off the hip of the tackle or going 1 gap wider. And the way I teach it is, if you get to this spot right here and you recognize that there is no space between the deuce block and these 2 bodies, then go ahead and take it the next step around. When he gets around it, we're going to try to work inside number the scraping backer so we can get the ball vertical in this C gap instead of bouncing to the D gap. We want it to be vertical as soon as possible. Good picture here of the tackle running the backer all the way over the top and cutting behind that. Here's a picture where the defense squeezes it so much the guard had no chance to get inside out. Everybody's squeezing everything here. One thing that's amazing to me is if you try to reach defenses, they try to, they can't ever give up contain, right? It's fundamental of defense. But you run a gap scheme over there and they'll give up contain in a moment. So what we tell our guys, it doesn't matter where the football goes. I don't care whether it goes A gap, B gap, C gap, or we bounce it all the way outside. If we cover them up and we do a decent job on the perimeter, there's always somewhere to run the football. So the backer squeezes so tight they give up all the contain. There is no edge to the defense. We bounce it all the way outside. I've got a couple on here to a 1 technique just to show how we handle it. This is still a double team right here just in case he slants out, but the guard's going to block that 1 just as if he's got him by himself initially. Stick my hat right in the V of his neck, strong with the outside hand, knock him over the top. Here's another look to a 1 technique. Good job right here. Again, hat in the V of the neck, sink my hips, hands inside. If he wants to roll over the top, knock him over the top. I want the center on the backside of these gap schemes to go get that guy. I want him to be physical on him, and if he tries to play over the top, every once in a while we'll get this back door cut. Okay, again, I talked about the pace initially. We're operating with tempo right here. We're snapping the ball. We got guys with their hands in the air. We got guys pointing, guy with his hands on his hips, another guy thumbing his nuts. They're not quite sure what's going on. So you got to be able to get up there and just roll with it. Your guys got to have confidence in that. So one of the things that we do is during the week, we just get guys over there and we line them up and we show them all kinds of looks, and some looks that aren't sound, but they got to get to the point where they recognize who the most important defenders are. Here's a couple with run-throughs. We got a front side run-through here. You see the guard with his eyes inside. That's not his backer, but that's his gap. So the backside guard recognizes that, takes the next one. Here's one with a front side run through on the tackle. Because we run so much gap scheme, you see a lot of this unique stuff on the backside. We see all different types of things, so we got to work these kind of twists on the backside. A couple of different alignments we can get. When we get a 4-eye in an even front, I got to make the decision based on a couple of factors. Number 1, what are they doing when they're in a 4-eye? Is it a zone blitz look? Is it a twist look? Second thing I think about is, can my tackle handle a 4-eye? If I don't think my tackle can handle the 4-eye by himself, then we'll go ahead and still work the double team. The guard's just not going to work inside as much. He's just going to settle step, then drive forward, but he's still got to have his eyes inside for the run through. Okay, here's a look against a 4-eye where I felt like the threat from the backside, it was more of a zone blitz look or a twist look for these guys. So I felt like we had to go back. So we're comboing back with the guard and center here. The tackle's got the 4-eye by himself. Here's another one with the same thing. Tackle's got the 4-eye by himself. They're blitzing here. Now for us, because we're an open edge team, If we don't have a tight end or a tackle over in one of our Wildcat sets, then we can't just let this guy go, just in case something like this happens and we get 2 outside the tackle on the front side. So we stay with a 3 technique or 4-eye that slants outside, comboing back here to this blitzer. Okay, here's one where we got a 4-eye on the back side, again, because we knew some different things were going on. Now we're working a combination between the guard and center on the front side, comboing up to the twist on the back side. Again, good picture of the guard hitting inside shoulder on the backer. Okay, I'm going to skip those. How much time I got, Coach?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. 15. I like his answer better. All right. I know Coach Hevesey's going to talk about the counter a little bit, and they do a phenomenal job running the counter at Mississippi State, as good as anybody that I've seen. The counter for us is about the same play as the power. We're just switching jobs with the fullback and the guard. Okay, but I do want to show some things on this particular cut up because it shows some of the adjustments that you have to have. If you're running the ball from a 3-wide set, you don't have a tight end in the game, or you just have a tight end and not a fullback. You got 6 blockers. You got to be able to handle the edges somehow or another, whether it's with the bubble, the spot, the now, and audible, or you got to be able to handle it with your front, with your offensive line. Because we operate with such tempo and we're trying to push it and go as fast as we can, we try to handle as many of those things as possible with us up front. We can certainly check things, and we have the ability to throw the bubbles and the spots and all that too, but there are times when we just want to put the ball down and snap it, and we got to be able to handle some of the different things that could happen off of the edge. So we spend a lot of time trying to work on those things because teams know that and they'll try to attack it. So you'll see some of those things in these plays right here. All right, to start with, I'll just show you some of the just base defenses. We're running the counter. Okay, one thing you'll notice that as you watch these, most of the time when we run the power, it's to the right. Most of the time we run the counter, it's to the left. That's not 100%, but we do try to specialize. That's something that Coach Malzahn has done for a long time. I've never done it that way. I've always run them equally both ways. But one thing that I found that it does help with is it can really allow you to specialize with your players. I mean, if you got a big, strong, physical kid who's not quite as nimble, he may be a guy that you can run the power to and the counter this direction. If you got a guy that's a little bit better feet but maybe not as powerful, you don't ask him to kick out the end, you ask him to be your wrapper. Okay, that's kind of what we did. Now we still ran them both ways, but we tried to specialize, and if we didn't have a specific reason to run one the opposite direction, we'd keep it power to the right, counter to the left. So you'll see most of these counters going to the left. So everything I talked about in terms of the keys to this play being successful, exactly the same as what I talked about before, other than the fact that now your guard's your lead blocker on your defensive end, your fullback's coming through on the play side backer. What I tell the guard right here is you're going to take a full bucket step, lose as much ground as you can, then run at a 20-degree angle up into the line of scrimmage, getting as tight to your tackle's hip as you can. If there's any way possible you can get your helmet inside that guy, you're going to take your deepest shoulder, you're going to use a backside flipper, and you're going to rip through him with that flipper, that same technique that I was talking about on the double team a minute ago, and we're going to pry the defense apart right there. And to an open edge, this is a quick hitting play. It's really a trap. If you watch all these, most of the time, contact's going to be made 3 steps after his pull step. After he takes that step, he's usually going 1, 2, 3. Contact's made. So he's not going very far, but he's got to be in position, get his pad level down, and be explosive in a hurry. Here's another one. This is a close one. The defensive end's trying to squeeze it. Again, if I can get my helmet inside of him, then I'm kicking him out. Good look again at him prying the defense apart. The defensive end's trying to squeeze it. They've got a blitz coming outside, faking a little sweep to account for him. The quarterback's running behind it. Here's one against a little bit of an unusual defense. Had 2 4-eyes, 2 inside backers, a monster behind it. So we knew the 4-eye was going to pinch right here. So we settle step with the guard and work the normal double team to the backside backer. Again, a good look at the guard working to try to get his helmet inside. Always helps when your quarterback can just run over the free hitter in the middle of the defense. Okay, here's a good look at the tackle on the front side. Working the double team on the one technique, the 2-eye, and you see him close. You see the tackle go get him. He's not waiting on him. On the double team, the tackle, as soon as he clears the B gap, I want him to go get the backer, be in position to maintain that block wherever it ends up. This is a good one just to show you what we're trying to do with the running back. Whether he's coming from same side or opposite side, he's going to shuffle over, and we want him to run vertical as long as he can. Another good look at the double team, good look at the kick out. Now, we'll get most teams that probably try to do everything they can to try to close on us and wrong arm. And again, when they do this, you know, we may block on right here, or we may crack the safety, but when they do that, they're giving up contain. So again, we don't mind when the ball bounces. Sometimes your biggest plays end up when it bounces. What I do tell them when the defensive end closes is you want to take him on as tight as you possibly can. I don't want to drift around him at all. I want to take him, and then I want to close him even more, because this ball's going where we would say is bouncing it. But if you look at where the running back's going, to the open side, when I wrap on that guy really tight that's trying to wrong arm and squeeze, he still doesn't have to move a whole lot. He's still running about where the B gap initially was. We just got to get our fullback a little bit tighter up here, and we'd be in business. Here's another one where the defense tries to close. We log him really tight. Try to get the fullback on the inside shoulder of the backer. We do some stuff where we put a lot of people in motion. We get a team that might be playing cover 2 or trap or rolling weak on us. We motion a guy in, buys us an extra blocker. We got one for the safety, one for the corner who can also possibly influence this defensive end. Another one where the defense closes, we log it, get the edge. Here's one that's a little bit unique. We don't do a whole lot of this, but if we know a defense is going to play outside with their inside backer, sometimes we'll run it from 4 wides. So now this receiver or tight end is taking place of the fullback from over here. It's just a way to run the counter from a 4-wide look. The only danger is if you kick out and he squeezes, he may be in poor position. We really have only done it against teams that we felt pretty sure that they were going to try to squeeze and jump outside with him. If he played in the box, we just tell him to try to crack him and do your best. But if we know that's how they're going to play it, it's a good way to get the gap scheme out of 4 wides. Here's one to a 4-eye. I like the tackle right here. We felt like we needed to work backside. Felt like my tackle could handle the 4-eye. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of adjustments, things that we have to handle. This team right here, first time we ran it, this defensive end's trying to pick off our tackle and keep him off the backer. Well, the tackle knows he's got to get there. He can't let him keep him from doing his job. You may be in poor position, and the ball may go all the way outside the pulling guard, but that's still your backer. You got to go block him. Okay, we talked about it on the sidelines. Next time we made an adjustment, so we know that's what they're doing. Now the tackle, as long as he doesn't have a high tendency of slant right here, he'll slow down, give that guy a little shoulder and side flipper, and now we get the kick out. So now they're screwed in terms of how they're playing it, because this guy's been told to spill it all week, and this guy's been told to scrape and play outside because he knows he's going to spill it. Well, now we kept him from squeezing it. The backer runs outside, and we got a big lane right there in the B gap. Here are some of the adjustments we have to handle. If we got a guy on the line of scrimmage outside the end, then we got to be able to handle that with the tackle and our puller. This is true whether it's power or counter. We got one on and one outside. There's no tight end right here. This guy's not responsible for him. He's just an extra blocker for the corner. So our tackle's going to slow down. He's going to collect the defensive end. Guard's going to kick out the first blitzer. Our fullback will wrap all the way around for the mic. Here's another one with a man blitz. Okay, taking the gaps on the backside. We got a defensive end closing. Tackle collects him. Guard kicks out the first blitzer. We got to get our fullback up on the next one. We'd have had an easy walk-in. Okay, those were man blitzes. Here are a couple of zone blitzes. Okay, we got a zone blitz coming. Okay, tackle collects the 5, guard's going down to the shade, center's going to work up to the dropping end once he sees the 3 work outside. Guard's going to kick out. I don't like the guard cutting right here. I want him to run through it. Okay, here's the next time it came and we recognized it coming. So if we recognize it coming, instead of the center going back, we make a call that slows him down and puts him in position where he's going to collect the nose. The guard's going to take 1 step, check the A-gap, climb vertical for the backside backer. Tackle's still going to collect the 5. We'll kick out the first blitzer. We'll get right here, and we'll get everybody blocked other than the drop-in defensive end. 1-2 an odd front. I'm not a big fan of the 6-man scheme against a true 3-4 defense because you lose your angles and your double teams. But when we get it, this is how we'll handle it. We'll quick combo the guard, bang and climb, center try to steer and overtake the nose. Tackles here, guards there. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you is a play that's an accessory play off of those 2. Okay, and this is great. This is old school football right here. Okay, this is wing T football. We're probably one of the few teams that's still running some version of the old school buck sweep. But it's a man scheme, perimeter run. We feel like it really takes advantage of a defensive end that's trying to close and wrong arm. And again, if you're going to run the ball and try to run it vertically on defenses, and you're not going to have long edges, you got to have some answers for that. You can't let those guys just knife you all day long right there off the tackle's hip. So this is one of our first answers. We're going to try to build walls in the box with our down blocks and cut the defense. Our guards are going to open, pull, sprint full speed, and got to hit the guys in the right spot. Okay, so old school buck sweep, for some of you guys that have done it, you've got a tight end and a wing. And those 2 guys are working down, doubling this defensive end up to the inside backer, right? Okay, well, we've taken that and we've used a version of that, but we're doing it from a 3 wides alignment. Our rules are we're always going to have somebody from outside in crack the first backer in the box. Okay, nothing outside the box, the first thing inside the box, because kind of like Sam was talking about before, I don't like the leverage it puts on us if we're blocking someone out here. So he'd bypass somebody that's on him to crack the first backer in the box. If we get a 3 on the front side, the tackle's going to block down, the center's going to block back, the backside tackle's going to hinge just like he would on the backside of the power. Our play side guard is going to pull, block first force, first thing outside the box. Backside guard is going to pull around, wrap for second backer. Okay. Our fullback, and this is really the key to the play right here, he's going to go right at the defensive end just as if he was trying to kick him out on the power or the backside of split zone. As the defensive end sees that tackle block down, fullback working at him, 90% of the time he's going to squeeze and block himself. So then we're going to load him or log him with the fullback. We're going to crack right here. We're going to block down with the tackle, block back with the center. Everything that we're trying to do is build walls right here. All right. Play side guard. He's going to open. Once he clears these 2 blocks, he's going to work vertical. If they're playing zone defense or if for any reason there's someone that's playing out here in the flat, he's going to work to inside hat placement. Backside guard's going to come around these crack blocks and he's going to work to seal the backside backer, and then we're going to run the ball in this alley between these 2 guards. Okay, if the defense is playing man or if they just squeeze with the crack block and we get them out leveraged, now when the guard pulls, we're not necessarily going to say it's got to be a kick out. So basically the way we teach it is if it's zone, somebody's staying outside, you're going to kick him out. If it's man and he squeezes with the crack, then you're going to keep running, try to get him out leveraged, and we're going to get the ball all the way outside. Good look right here at the backside guard, pulling all the way around the trash, getting his eyes on his backer. That seal, now we just got to get 1 blocked. Okay, good look right here. Defensive end squeezing, fullback on his outside shoulder. We were changing it up on these guys. These guys were trying to read us. The year before they had really played over the top and squeezed with him and picked our tackle. So this particular game we went ahead and cut right here. We don't do it as a base, but our tackle was getting picked otherwise. So it's a nice little change up. Crack right here. Again, you see everything we're looking for right here. Okay, everybody here has an angle. Okay, it goes back to the reason that teams ran the wing tee for so long. Everybody's got an angle. Everybody here has a decent position to block their man, and we got two guards that can run and get on the edge and let our back follow them. Where I think it gets really fun is when our guards can pull out here for a corner or a nickel defender, because these guys right here, they don't like that much. These little skinny guys, Coach, come on, I don't think we should play nickel anymore in that formation. We get an opportunity to get after these guys. I think it affects the way that they cover maybe on the next snap. One last look at it right here. I want to show this one, because if we do get a one technique or a shade on the front side, instead of pulling both guards, we'll gap it up on the front side, block down, tackle will work B gap to second backer. Now the backside guard is going to pull for force. And we'll do the same thing if we get any type of run through on the front side, even if there's a three technique. So again, yep, we got a call for that. Actually though, on the front side, even if if we get a late run through last second, backer hits the A gap right before the snap, I tell the front side guard just to stay in, because when the back side guard's pulling, he goes to pull, he sees the front side guard doesn't get out in front of him, he should recognize it and he becomes the force puller. So here we got a call where we got a shade, so he's staying in, the backside guard knows it, now he's pulling for force. I still want to get to his inside number. Again, that's good stuff right there. Guys, thanks so much for your time. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything else. What the hell is she going to say? So they said, well, you got to understand this. He goes, you're speaking at the old line clinic. He goes, there's not receiver coaches, there's not quarterback coaches, there's not